Only bombs. Only bombs. Welcome to the podcast. But we blow up all the jokes. Only bombs. Detonate another bomb blast with every episode of Pop. Only bombs. Only bombs.
Oh my God, yeah.
So pardon me. If I'm
No,
still, like,
you're totally
breaking up a
fine.
little
Yeah.
bit.
I used to work overnights too at a gas station a long time ago. But I get the nightlife job, and I always bartended and worked in, clubs and restaurants. So very much so a night owl. And I understand. I understand the struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people like just operate better at nights,
hmm
And I feel like I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
I feel like I wake up during nights and I struggle during the day to just stay
Yeah.
just functional
Well,
or whatever. But I think, that whole circadian rhythm thing.
yeah, it's
I guess.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. When you were working at a gas station, was that crazy? Like,
Yeah. I mean, I got robbed at gunpoint for sure. It was definitely
what?
pretty intense. Yeah. I worked there when I was, I think I was just turned 18. This is back in Buffalo, New York, where I'm from.
Niagara Falls, right?
Yeah, Niagara Falls is like right there. Buffalo, Canada is like also like you can walk. I mean, you don't want to walk, but it's like a 10-minute walk. Canada's right there. But yeah, I was like saving up money because I knew I wanted to move to California. I knew I wanted to live in LA. And so I worked overnights at a gas station. And then I also worked at a Greek diner. And then I also this is like all the same time. And then I also did housekeeping at a motel in Buffalo. And it was awful. And I was just trying to save up my money and moved to California. And I got robbed at gunpoint and I still had to work the next day.
No.
Yeah.
Was this like a 7-Eleven?
No, it was called Sunoco. They have, I think there's one. I've seen one in Austin, like north. But Sunoco, I actually genuinely loved that job. It was like probably one of my favorite jobs. The pay wasn't great. You got paid like minimum wage, but it was so cool because like you work by yourself, especially if you are the overnight person.
Mhm.
So you don't have a boss, you don't have anyone micromanaging you. Like you had all these like random customers. I remember like a lot of drug dealers used to come in. They would get money orders. Not
Money
really-
orders.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure why they needed money orders, but that's what they do. But like all the cops would come in, and you had like the donut man, the milk man, the Pepsi man, the guy that brought in the actual like gasoline. So you just had all these like
Yeah.
regulars, and you're by yourself, and as long as you got your stuff done, you were like chill. And so I loved that job.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of jobs from like way back in the day that I'm like, man, I wish that could have been a thing.
Yeah,
And you just mentioned a second ago that like a Greek, like it was a Greek
a Greek diner.
Greek diner.
Yeah.
I also worked at a Greek restaurant,
Oh, nice.
and I was like, man, it was just like such a cool vibe. All the people there were really, really cool,
Yeah.
but it just, it was destined to like not be a thing,
Mhm.
to be like held on and
For
stuff
sure.
like that. But so did you work during the day there?
I worked during the day at the Greek diner, Pegasus. Yeah.
And the gas station you worked during the day too?
No, the gas station I worked overnights. Your shift starts at, I think our shift started at 11 and it was 11 at night till 7 in the morning.
Man,
Yeah.
see, I think of like, when I think of the gas stations, especially overnights, I'm like, that's when those creepy crawlies
Oh,
start
for
like,
sure.
coming out,
Yeah. I made friends with all the cops and all the cops were like very nice to me. And I remember like one of the cops, like anytime like I was like having issues with like, say this stupid boy that I was dating, he'd be like, do you want me to go pull him over? And I'm like, yes,
yeah.
actually I do. But they would come in and check on me all the time, make sure I was like, okay. And so I was like very rarely like alone, you'd have like little moments, but I had so many regulars too. But I would get off at 7 and then I would like try to like nap for an hour, and I had to be at Pegasus, the Greek diner, at 9 in the morning. So it's like, it was, and I still don't drink coffee to this day. I'm like, I never, used caffeine. I was just young and hungry and wanted to move to California. And I was like, this is what I got to do. When I think back at it now, I'm like, I don't know how I survived, but
Yeah, I totally get it. Did you know how did you know why you wanted to move to California even back then?
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to do something with comedy, writing, performing.
Oh wow.
So when I was real young, at first I always wanted to be a judge. I was obsessed with justice. I don't know why. I was obviously a traumatized child.
I love that though.
Yeah, and I was like, well, people need to pay and I need to punish them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was. So one time there we had a school play. I was in 4th grade and there was a role and it was the judge. And I was like, well, I want to be a judge. So obviously I have to play that part. And then when I was like rehearsing my lines and, doing all that, I was like, oh, whoa, this is fun. Like, I like this part.
Yeah.
And then I started to, I didn't even like register that I loved stand-up comedy, but I remembered like my parents were never around. My dad's like, both of my parents are degenerates, God bless. If they watch this, they won't. But they, drug and alcohol, very irresponsible, had kids very young. They're not married. They both had multiple partners, can't hold a good job. Like my dad's been in and out of jail. Like they're just that type of people. And God bless. But so they were never like home. So like I would just watch like whatever I wanted to watch on TV. There was no like, you can't, that's a bad word, that's rated R. And I always like to watch stand up. So on HBO they'd have like specials, and then BET they had Comic View like every night at 11 o'clock. And then Comedy Central, obviously they had, all their different like stand up. Oh my God, what was the one? It was just, oh my God, why am I blanking out?
Presents.
Yeah, Comedy Central Presents. And so I would always like just naturally like flick between those. And then, and I remember, yeah, that was like, okay, but I looked at stand-up comedians like rock stars. I was like, oh, you have to be a genius to do that. I'm like, their brains are these high level, I mean, which I still think is true, but there's a lot of bad comedians too, but it's like the point where you're watching them is like when they're 20 years in, they've been doing it for so long, like, but I never like saw the entry point. So when I saw comedians, I was just like, okay, those people are gods. I love stand up, but I didn't think of myself doing stand up. But I was like, oh, I could get into comedy though still. I could write or I could do comedy acting or something. And yeah, so I always knew that I was like, I want to go to California and I want to do something with like comedy and writing. And then eventually life kept being like, stand up, it's stand up, it's stand up.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, I am a stand-up comedian this whole entire time.
Yeah. Were you one of those people where everybody was like just kept telling you like, oh man, you need to get on stage. Like you need to be that. Like you could do that.
Yeah.
And everything. I was like that too. Growing up in school, like people would tell me that all the time. So I know what you're talking about when you watch Comedy Central and you're watching like all these people. You're like, dude, like these people are awesome.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing.
Oh my God. They were gods to me. I was like, that's the coolest thing in the entire world. And so I remember watching Chris Rock was like the first person where I would like memorize his name and was like, that guy.
Okay. Right on. A great name too.
Yeah.
A great one.
I love Chris Rock. And I loved Comic View on BET too, because I felt like there was things that I could just relate to those comics more. Like say a lot of the comics were talking about like, being broke and like living in like dangerous neighborhoods and, their parents like not being around or their parents having drug and alcohol issues. And like, that was my story too, where I'm like, okay, like, I always lived in, definitely not good neighborhoods until I was in high school. But for the most part, it was all like very sketchy. Like our school, like we couldn't carry backpacks. We had to carry crates because kids would bring weapons to school. You weren't allowed to wear hoodies or like gold jewelry because like kids, there's always like fights and everybody's getting jumped. The teachers are getting jumped. Like just very scary schools where I would like, I would cry before school. I was like, I just don't want to get jumped.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
like
insane.
Yeah. But anyway, so like I always loved watching them. And so when I watched Chris Rock, I was like, okay, I was like, this person gets it. And like he was always making such good points like based on like society and like his point of view. And I remember when TiVo came out. Do you remember TiVo where you could like record TV?
Oh yeah.
And TiVo was a thing. And I remember the first time like getting to record, I think it was on Comedy Central, but they were showing like 3 Chris Rock specials like in a row, and I got to record them. And then I got to watch them like over and over and over.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I love this thing. And then I would start I remember like telling my dad, I was like, yeah, I love stand up. Like I love Chris Rock. And And he was like, well, if you love Chris Rock, like you probably really love Richard Pryor. And again, this is like before, like other people had the internet, but like we were broke, like we never had a computer or anything. So and it was before YouTube. So it's like I couldn't just like look up, Richard Pryor. But I remember one time a rerun coming on of one of Richard Pryor's specials. I think it was Live at the Sunset Strip, and watching that, and I was like, ding, 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 ding. Here we go. This is what I want to do. Because he was taking all his like pain and trauma and just the ugliest, worst parts of himself, and one, being like willing to be vulnerable to open up about it, but 2, make it so funny, and 3, he's like making money and has a career off of it. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Now the time of when I did that was many years later, but I knew I was like, it just like lit me up in a way where I was like, I'm activated.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So for me, it's almost like kind of the same sort of deal, except for like I wouldn't realize what stand up was. I think initially, like I didn't understand that this guy on this microphone here is like, he's saying jokes. I didn't even know what the hell a joke was. Yeah. And I remember kind of like my journey was sort of similar though, in that, people would say these kind of things or something like that. And I didn't really understand until it was like, I want to say like 03 or something like that. I saw Robin Williams live on Broadway. Yeah. And that was just like, for me, it was like the most like compelling thing I'd ever really seen on a stage, to think that like one person is getting up there with an act like this. And I watched that thing so many times. Yeah. And then that was like a floodgate for me. It was like, like Robin Williams, and then it was like Dane Cook. Yeah.
Vicious Circle. Was that the one that, was it Vicious Circle, or what's the one that, his big special in 2003?
Yeah, it was, except Vicious Circle, because that was a big one where he brought in that circle stage. Yeah. Right. And he had that whole like super finger thing called Su-Fi or whatever. And then there was one before that, and that's the one that I really loved. Okay. Like the one where he was still like hungry. Yeah. And of course like Mitch Hedberg, and like because he was really big back then too. And Comedy Central Presents had like so many people. Sklar Brothers were on there. Like
Patton Oswalt, I remember. They're now, because it's like all the ones that I watch on Comedy Central. I remember I was like looking this up recently, because it's like there's so many names. I'm like, oh, that was this person. Where it's like when I was younger, I wasn't registering like I didn't know who they were. They were like up and coming comics, Yeah. But then like now, like knowing stand up so well and being like, oh fuck, like, oh, I didn't even realize that was that same person or whatever. I remember seeing like a Dave Attell. I think it was like Dave Attell, like his HBO half hour, because they did like the half hours on HBO, and Louis too. Yeah. And what is her name? Janine Garofalo. I remember hers. Hers was really funny. Oh yeah. But then being like, oh shit, like many years later, like, oh, like that is this person. Like I have seen this. And connecting those dots is always, I love those moments too.
Yeah. Or if you knew somebody from stand up and now they're a big actor. Like for me, it's Zach Galifianakis. I saw Zach Galifianakis on Comedy Central Presents. Yeah. And I was like, man, I love them. And now he's like a huge actor, where it's like, do y'all even know that that's where he started? It was like that.
Michael Keaton too. He was a huge stand-up comic. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then, watching him be Batman or whatever, you're like, whoa, like that's so, right? He was Batman. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was like, oh my God.
In a 1989 version.
Yeah. But it's like, knowing that watching those celebrities, where it's like, again, I didn't know Michael Keaton. I wasn't born or whatever. I didn't see him as a stand-up, but then knowing who he was, and then they're like, oh, he was a stand-up, and then, just watching YouTube clips or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's so cool.
Right. It's wild. It's wild. And it's like, because it all makes sense no matter what they did, because it makes sense to like people, I guess, like who want to do stand-up, because I feel like it's just like, man, these people are actually saying the things that are like in my mind. And they're saying them in a way that make perfect sense.
Totally.
So when, so you said like, Richard Pryor, you watch Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, stuff like that. Did these people influence your writing when you finally actually started writing?
I don't know if they influenced my writing. I'd say the person that I was like, I remember watching Bill Burr. This is when Netflix, like when they would give you the CDs, like the actual discs. Yeah. I had a roommate at the time, and they were old. They were like 14 years older than me, and I was like 22 or something. Might have been 21. But I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and they were the first people to tell me about Netflix. So like, oh, you sign up for this thing, and like they send you the discs or the CDs or whatever. And I remember wait a minute, I can't remember. Don't quote me, but I remember looking up like the stand-ups. They had some, and I think Bill Burr was like part of their first wave of like comedians that they were like, all right. And I remember, but I feel like I remember also streaming him too. So like when they were done with the CDs, I think it was just the movies that were still like the discs. I don't remember, but I remember first watching Bill Burr, and it was in 2008 or 2009 because I think his special came out in 2008, but I probably didn't see it till like 2009, 2010. But I remember being like, whoa, like,
yeah.
I remember watching him, and I still hadn't even started stand up. I didn't start until 2014. But I just remember like studying him, like watching it over and over. And I was just like, and I felt like, cause he has like a lot of, he's like very persuasive, and he like, you know, he's a type person where it's like he uses his anger to like rant, but like he makes like such good points that he persuades you to like switch like your opinion. And I was like, yeah, that's what I do too. But then when I watched Bill Burr, I was like, I should never do stand up. Like that's so like he's so amazing. Where I was like, but then I had a friend. I don't know why I'm blanking out on who this was, but I remember somebody telling me, they're like, well, that's them doing stand up for so long. Like where he started is going to be like where you start. Like you're comparing yourself at him when he's like a seasoned comic. And then I was like, all right. But in 2009, I knew I wanted to do stand up, and I just kept bitching out. And then I did, but I was doing sketch and improv. So I did sketch and improv for like 6-7 years before I ever did stand up. So like got to LA in like 2007, and from 2007 to 2013, all of that was like sketch and improv. And I was in Second City, and my teacher was like, every time we like had to like write a thing, like we had to like write these little character monologues or like whatever. And my teacher was like, you're a stand-up. He's like, you're writing stand-up. And I was like, oh, I know. But then I kept not doing it. He's like, bitch, you got to do stand-up. You're a stand-up. And then, and that's, 2013 is kind of, I took a class, regret it, but whatever. But I took a class at first. And then after that class, that's when I started like grinding open mics in 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you actually went from like a comedy troops kind of thing like that. I always think about that, like the Kids in the Hall, you know, of course, everybody, you know, Second City, of course, everybody knows that, you know, and I always wondered how, like, cause I see how those things are different, and I've actually done like theater myself and stuff like that. So like, I understand like the improvisational like aspect of it, but did you walk away from that like feeling like, okay, this is gonna make me better at stand up, or did you think that like oh shit, I just went in a whole different direction?
No, I'm really happy that I did it, and I think a lot of people shit on, you know, improv and sketch all the time, and like there's always like a comedy divide between like the stand-ups and like the people who do improv. But I'm so happy that I did improv first, and that I got my feet wet and like really like understood like the mechanics of comedy, and also working with other people, and working, because I did Groundlings and Second City, and I was in the Second City Conservatory, where it's like you end up producing and performing your own show like on like their main stage for like a month, or it might be like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And like just building that whole thing like with, you know, your team members was such a cool experience, and it just taught me like so many like comedy like mechanics that it's like, you know, you'd have to like maybe like read about or something, but it's like Second City and Groundlings just it's like a comedy boot camp for sure.
Oh, wow.
And but I knew something was missing when I was there. I was like, I really enjoy this and I really like this. And some of my good friends to this day where it's like they're so talented, like they're so good at character work. And I always felt like that's like where I struggled. Where I was like, I know I'm funny, but like if there's like all these different accents you have to do or all these different characters, I was like, there's only really like maybe 3 different characters I can play. And then I'm seeing all these other people who it's like, they can do 25, like, and each one of them is so, you know, individual and different. And I was like, okay, I feel like that's not really me. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to write for those people. Cause like, I know how to write in other people's voices like really well. And so I was like, oh, I'll just write in their voice. And then And then it was like, yeah, I just like kept hearing like, do stand up, do stand up, do stand up. And I'm like, I think I was just so scared to be bad at the thing that I loved the most. And I was like, because it just will break my heart, you know?
Right.
But it's like, yeah, that's the point of stand up. Like, you're going to be bad when you first start. Like, everybody's bad. And if you think you're good and you're not even 10 years in, it's like, you know, that's, you're in for a rude awakening.
That's, man, that is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. When I first got on there, you know, I didn't realize like how terrible it was that people were like, "Oh man, you're funny. You should do stand up."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always took it as like a massive compliment.
Yeah.
And it is. I understand what they're saying and stuff like that. But yeah, when I first got up there, I was like, "Oh no."
Yeah. Oh no is the right response. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, "Oh, dude." Like even now, it's like I respect the stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I respect the hell out of it because it's not like I can't just be like, all right, let me just write down this funny thought and go up there and be like, all right. There's so many people who do the same thing, I'm sure, who do like, oh, you should put this in your act.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know, and then you're like, it's not gonna.
Yeah. I'm like, don't ever talk to me ever again.
Yeah, don't say that. It doesn't work like that.
It's always the most uninteresting. Like, I've always had like, you know, tons of different jobs when I'm, you know, was doing stand up. And like anytime I would tell people like, oh, I'm a stand up, they're like, oh, are you going to write about us? And I'm like, you're the most boring person I've ever met in my life. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like not everything goes into it.
Yeah.
You know? It's there are many different filtered thoughts that get there.
Right. And also it's like, why in the world do you think that my interaction with you is like the top 20 things that are interesting about my life? And I'm like, I mean, and of course, like most of them don't, they mean well, but it's, it always just, you could just see the delusion in the human beings where I'm like, oh, like you think that you are something fascinating. Wow.
Right.
That's interesting.
You should totally put me in your act, you know? And I'm like, man, it's actual experience, like experience, you know? I'm like, for me, it's like what I love about stand up is that everybody has, even though there's like writing like styles, like everybody has a different approach, you know? And I guess that's what I was kind of like leading into was that. So when you finally got up on the stage, the open mic stage, you know, in 2014, right? When you finally got up there, when you finally like took that leap and everything, by then, did you have things written and did you feel ready? Or was it like something where you just like jumped in blind and was like, let's see what's going to happen?
Oh no, I had been writing things since 2009. Like 2009 when I remember like every single night when I would go to bed, and this is like when it just became more prominent. Like I would have this like stream of consciousness and it would just like be like, and it was just naturally kind of in joke form.
Wow.
And I remember just like every night before bed, and I'm like, why am I like, I would step outside of myself and I'm like, why am I, what is this? Like, what are these thoughts? And then like another thought popped up and it's like, this is stand up. Like you're writing stand up, write it down. And I'm like, oh, is that what this is? Like, I'm just, it's just piling through my head constantly. And then so I was like, okay. So I had like a notebook and then when I was like doing sketch and improv, I would sometimes like look at my ideas and be like, okay, can I make this a sketch? Can I make this a scene? Can I make this a character? And then when I got to do stand up, when I finally was doing it, I was like, oh, okay, finally I can use all this the way I want to, and it doesn't get transformed by other people and their character work or whatever, because that's what you have to do, in sketch and improv. You give an idea and then it grows into this whole snowball that like you'd have no control over anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why I like stand up, because I was like, I like my ideas. I don't want your input.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah.
Did you find it difficult to kind of like let go of that whole like I guess like I'm trying to think of the right word. Sorry. The tether of like having that kind of direction that improv kind of gives you. Or
wait. Sorry. Say that again. I don't know if I understand.
No, that's okay. I'm asking it so strangely. What I'm trying to like. Okay. My example, I guess, would be like a hard part that I had, especially like leaving theater and then trying to do stand up and having like that mind that would bounce back and forth. I would be like, oh man, like I have no direction. Like, and I guess like what I'm asking is like, was that challenging for you? Like to like kind of like leave the improv kind of thing and then go into like the stand up thing? or was it like something that you felt was more natural for you?
It was more natural. It was more natural and it was more freeing because I felt like sketch and improv was way more of a challenge for me.
Gotcha.
Of like one having to constantly like let everybody build a scene like with you and let everybody's ideas of your original idea just blossom, which is the beautiful part of, doing like the conservatory and doing sketch and like building a show. But then at the same time, you're like, well, I want to just see what it is on my own. And so stand up finally gave me the opportunity to be like, all right, sister, like it's all you. Go. Now you have the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of so I've seen your jokes and I've seen like the way that you like in your kind of structure, and I love how like you, and I know we kind of spoke on this briefly, but like, how you incorporate, like your real life into it, and it seems like it's so natural. And that's what I love about it, is because I can see like how it's like you're speaking from, like an actual part of you. Did you begin that way, or did you sort of like, I'm just gonna like write a joke like why the chicken crossed the road?
Yeah.
Or did you start off with real experiences right off the bat?
I kind of always knew that I was going to be like personal narrative based because again, like Richard Pryor was my favorite. And I loved when I first started stand up too, it was therapy, not to be lame. And it's like, everybody says that, but it's like, it really was my therapy, where it's like, I didn't even do therapy up until, my recent years. So my whole entire life, how I had all that trauma and just, a fucked up childhood, like comedy was my outlet to be like, all right, now I have this thing. And like it's not like I went into it being like, I want to write about trauma. But when I watched Richard Pryor and I saw him take material of like his heart attack, his divorce, like him, his dad dying, like all these things, like where I was like, whoa, you can do that. And so I was like, I knew I wanted to take the things that were the scariest, or the things that I was the most afraid of, or the things that I was the most ashamed of. Because I was like, if I can turn this into comedy, then it's like I have the last laugh. Like literally, like none of this stuff can break me or has control over me because I'm turning it into comedy. Yeah. And hopefully money.
Right. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. I love that. I love that, like you took that, you took those things like that. I really do, because I'm sort of, when I first got into it, I don't know. I kind of got into it thinking, okay, maybe I might take like a Dane Cook approach, Yeah. And I was like, no, this isn't working. I might take maybe this approach.
Yeah.
And I discovered and I'm still brand spanking new. I've only been doing it stand up since like 23.
Okay.
But now I'm at the point where I'm like kind of learning. I'm like, nah, dude, I just really just need to just be myself. And just like open up, and then structure, is like the most important thing. So I guess like what was like a massive like lesson that kind of came to you where you were like, oh shit, I really wish I would have known this earlier?
Yeah. I mean, all the time. I mean, I think luckily I've always had like the anchor of like being very true to myself, because I've definitely like witnessed people like, I could always tell where I'm like, all right, David Tell's your influence. Okay, Louis your influence. Okay, this person, it's like Dion Cole, whatever. It's like I can always tell where people's influences come from, and I can tell when it's like multiple influences. But I think to me, the best stand-up is something that can stand the test of time. And to me, the things that can stand the test of time are things that are personal or like individualistic. And I remember like trying to write topical, like, because, at the time, Jon Stewart and all this stuff, The Daily Show, like this is super popular, and like you want to get a writing job, you want to get a writing gig, you want to maybe write on Weekend Update on SNL. And so I remember like trying to force myself to, which I still do think is a good exercise. I think to be a well-rounded comic, all these things are different tools. Like you should know how to do crowd work, and it doesn't mean you have to only do crowd work, but you should learn how to do crowd work. You should learn how to do topical material. You should learn how to do personal narrative things. You should learn how to do abstract. It's like you should be able to try and learn how to do everything. And because different times you're going to need write clean, have, jokes that are dirty. Because it's like, you're going to see like, you have certain crowds where you're like, all right, everybody's 85 and they look like they just left a bingo fucking tournament. Like, probably not going to love my molestation material or an abortion joke. So I'm like, I don't believe in like writing for the audience, because to me, that's like the definition of a hack. But I do believe in orchestrating and learning how to do different styles true to yourself. So this way, when you're in different situations, you're on a brunch show, whatever, it's like you are like, okay, this is still me being this, but adapting to my environment. So I think learning to adapt to my environment was like a big lesson where I'm like, okay, like I don't have, because I used to think like, nope, you just gotta like, fuck it, I'm gonna do a rape joke and they're gonna get over it. And it's like, no, there's times where it's like, obviously if it's your own special, you're gonna do whatever the fuck you want. But like I said, you're gonna do a show on a brunch show, or you're gonna do like a college clean show, and you forcing like, nope, like this is who I am. And I'm like, all of it is who I am, but it's okay to know your environment and to be a good technician and to be like, okay, this is going to work here. This is going to work here. As long as you're not pandering to them, but you're aware of the environment and the surroundings.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a reason why I love to ask people who are more experienced, and the comics who are more experienced with this whole thing, those kind of things, because it's what I learn a lot is like, oh, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh man, I never even thought about that.
For sure.
But it leads to like, I guess like epiphanies.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, you see, this is another reason why I just need to write dedicated to myself. Like,
yes.
And a lot of great comics do say that, oh, this was my therapy.
Yeah.
A lot of times, they do say that and everything. So what I love that you're saying that. I feel like there's wisdom in that. Did you find that the LA comedy scene was challenging for you to navigate?
For sure. I mean, I'm so happy that I came up in LA. LA and New York. I did New York for a year, like 2017 and 2018. But there's beauty about coming up in LA, and there's a lot of hardships too. Because one, it's so competitive, and there's so many different scenes that it's like you could be doing stand up for 8 years and you've never even intertwined with this other comic. You know who they are because it's like social media, but you're like, you've never even been on a show with them, because that's there's there's like the club scene, there's the alt scene, and there's like the west side scene, there's the valley scene, and there's like a small like downtown scene.
Wow.
But it's like these are 5 major scenes, and they all have their whole own mics, all their own shows, all their own like comics, all their own like vets. Like it's just so massive. And when you're going up on stage, it's like I remember doing open mics with like people who were like writers on Conan and people who were writers on SNL and whatever, and it's like that's what it is. So it's like if you want to, and so it's like I know a bunch of people who like started in a smaller scene, like they started in Chicago or they started in like San Diego or something, and then they come to LA, and I think that could be good too. But it kind of like forced me, and I'm like competitive, like not like in a way where it's like I'm not happy for other people, but I was like competitive where I'm like, I'm gonna show up in all the different scenes, and I'm gonna do multiple in the different scenes like every single night. And I leave my house at 5 p.m. and come home at 2 a.m. like every single night, and I did that for so many years. And so that's why in LA, everybody who knows me will be like, no, she grinded her ass off. And there's the comics who we know grinded our asses off and went everywhere. And there's comics who are like, oh, you just did a comedy class and only did a comedy class, and then you only did bringer shows. And then there's people where it's like you kind of just networked and hustled and hoard your way in. But like the thing that I love about LA is it's like you can certify your material, like meaning like if you're doing like jokes that like kind of only work in like the club scene, versus, and then you try to do it in an alt room, and not all the time it's going to translate. And then you do it in, rooms that are like more predominantly like a Black audience or the West Side, or again, like the Valley, where it's like, I would take once I was like, okay, I think I got this joke. I think this joke is good. Then I would go certify the material. Like, can I do the same joke on the alt side? Can I do the same joke in the clubs? Can I do the same in the Valley? The Valley was like kind of like more rowdy, punk rocky type of scene. Downtown has a similar vibe, but like kind of more artsy. And then the West Side is like liberal conservative, like where it's like they're not conservative like Republican, but they're conservative, and like you can't be talking about all this edgy, dark stuff without them being like, oh. But yeah, so when I knew, I was like, all right, I'm going to take this joke, and if I can get it to work everywhere, then I know that joke is like certified, like that this is good. And that's why, I and again, you're in LA too, you're with so like an array of comics, like people who work on the road, people who have like writing jobs, people who are on TV, people who are, they open for some of the biggest names. It's like you're just around all these people and you're constantly getting to like see like where you stand. And, it is very humbling. It's a very humbling experience for sure.
Wow. That is amazing. Like, just to, you see, I love that you kind of went into the in-depth kind of thing with LA, because I've never even been there.
Yeah.
Like, I've been to California a couple times, but like I've never been to like LA. Kind of not really drawn to it, But I'm also learning about myself. I'm kind of like one of those like comfy kind of people, So I have to I got to talk myself out of getting out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so did you do you have like a favorite of like those three of like LA, New York, and like let's say Austin?
Yeah, I mean, I think they all serve different purposes, and it just depends like where you're at. But I think it's so important as a comic to, in my opinion, I think it's so important to experience all three. It doesn't mean you have to like live in all three, but like do a 3-month stint, do a 2-month stint in, another area. I'm very fortunate that, well, it wasn't because of fortune, it was because of me just trying to figure out life, that it's like that I lived in all these places. But I think the more the wider you can cast that net in different types of environments, like it's only going to make you a better comic, because it's like you're going to just constantly be like working different skills and environments and like learning your own voice. Like, people think voice as in like your point of view. That's one way. But the other way of using your voice is like actually using your voice as an instrument. Like from when I would do the club scene, it's like I could be a little bit more, like animated or loud or in your face, or like, maybe like I could swear more or whatever. But if I try to do that same exact set, perform it that same exact way on the east side, the alt scene, like I would get a lot of like pullback. And again, I was never changing my jokes, but I was just changing like my voice, and not like putting on like a voice, but like just being like, if I come at them like if I'm aggressive and I'm intense, it makes them pull back. So I had to like learn to be like, let me do my same thing, but like I would approach them like a little bit more like in a vulnerable spot. Like say, like if I'm doing the molestation joke, I'm like, yeah, I'm just giving, this is not the joke. But if I'm like, yeah, like I got molested and like that type of energy, again, in a club, it might be like more, people are more with you. But in an alt scene where it's like, the room is like small, the lights are, you can see everybody's faces. It's like, you're getting different people who like maybe they have had similar experiences to you, and they're not like, they're not these people who are like, and fuck that, and da-da-da-da. They're a little bit more reserved, or they're a little bit more maybe timid. And so I had to like deliver that same material, but now not so in your face. So this way they could hear me, and it's like, it's not like offensive to them, or it's not like intense, or it's not like overly confident, because maybe some of those people aren't overly confident. They're not going to relate to you. So I don't remember what the question was.
I was just enjoying what you're saying, actually. But I think I just asked about like just the different scenes, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, like, and do you have a favorite between?
New York, LA, and Austin. Yeah. I think so like a lot of people will talk, I feel like ever since Austin, since the new reign of like the Mothership, because obviously Austin was its whole scene ever before, Joe Rogan moved here. And I think that because Austin started to have such a spotlight on it, like with that, with them moving here, LA and New York always used to talk shit about each other. It was always like these two, because those are the two big scenes. Those were the only two scenes you can really make it, LA and New York. And then all of a sudden Austin opens up, the New Guard, whatever. Then now these two, they love to talk shit about Austin. And Liz Splat actually had she did like one of those like street interview things, and she was like, it's annoying that like, I'm gonna butcher it a little bit, but she was basically saying where it's annoying that it's like we wouldn't want, Americans wouldn't want to be represented by one president, because say like whatever, if you're Republican or Democrat, like whoever the president is, like half the country is against that person and half the country is for that person, and you're like, you don't know about America based on just our fucking president. Like, you don't know what we want or like. It's the same thing with Austin, where I feel like there's two big names that everybody, and it's like, you see these New York and LA comics who clearly have not come through and done like the real Austin scene.
Sure.
And they're like, oh, Austin comics are this and Austin comics are that. And I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because that's just not even true. You're basing it on the most surface, the entry point of Austin. And it's like, that's so unfair.
Right.
And yeah, that part I don't like. But like I said, I think all of them have a different approach. But I do think the thing that New York and LA has that like Austin doesn't have yet, and maybe it will if it gets bigger and bigger, but because Austin is very small, like, population wise and their comedy community wise, it's definitely, it makes it way less competitive. Like, anybody can move here in Austin and you could be on the top shows like in a month.
That's true.
There's no barrier of entry. In LA and New York, it takes years to get on the dope shows. Even if you're a killer at 2 years, even if like you're doing your thing, even if you have a following, like people don't give a fuck about you, and people like, and they're competitive. And so it's like, it will take you many, many years just to get on like the dope, cool shows. Like, let alone even the clubs know who the fuck you are, or like, give you any opportunity. And it just makes it so much more competitive, which kind of forces like the people who are going to rise up, like, you're going to rise the fuck up, because that's the only way to do it. Versus here, it's like, I mean, again, it's nice. Again, like when I first moved here, it's like I could hit up anybody and I could get on any show immediately. And I've seen comics who are 1 year in and they're on the top, they're on the best shows, because it's just not as many comics. It's just not as competitive. It's just not as like difficult to get stage time. It's very easy to get stage time here, which again, on one hand is really good for certain comics, because, you need to get those reps in. In LA, we don't get the reps in with the show. Like when you're first starting, like years 5 and below, you're getting the reps in with the mics, which people are like, oh, mics suck because it's all comedians. Guess what? Like, if you get the comedians to laugh, your shit's dope. It's usually the comics who can't get other comics to laugh, and they only can get an audience to laugh, which usually the audience are definitely, they're a lot easier to make laugh than comics, because they're less educated on it. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like if you're dope and what you're doing is like legit, the comics are going to laugh at you. Like, again, it might take 2 years, but like once you get that, you're like, your shit's golden. It's like, gold standard, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's just not that, there's not that here, but it doesn't mean that like you still can't develop or whatever. But yeah, I think Austin is great, especially for comics who kind of are like in between, where it's like, okay, you've been featuring on the road for a lot, you're trying to like become a headliner and build your own audience, and like the thing that you care about the most is like getting reps in and just constantly like developing your material. I think it's really good for that. And I also think that the scene will just continue to grow, and yeah, so if you're broke and you need like a place to live where the cost of living is low, it's like, yeah, you're going to come to Austin.
Yeah.
If you're, if you're 5 years in and you're like, okay, I'm ready to compete and I'm ready to like learn and I'm ready to be challenged, then it's like, you're going to go to LA or New York, And if you also want to write, like you want to get a writer's job or you want to, get into acting, then you're going to go to New York or LA, because it's like, there's just way more opportunity for those other fields. I feel like that's the other thing. Austin, it's like, it's kind of just stand up right now. It's like, there's not like a whole, television scene here, or there's not like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like LA and New York, there's just so many more opportunities. But if you're just concentrating on stand up, it's very affordable to do it here and you can get a lot of stage time. And I think for certain people in certain areas, like that's going to be really good for them.
Yeah. Actually, like you're kind of like opening my eyes to like some things, actually, like some things I've said on here, because, cause I know that I've never been to, LA, or New York or nothing like that. I've been in New York, but not for comedy. Yeah. So I know that, right? But I didn't realize that what I was saying, like how much, I guess it was maybe the right word would be like privilege that, like when I first got here and I first like I was immediately like, I'm going to do stand up.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many options to do it. Like I just opened up a, like a book and I'm like, all right, I'll just go do stand up here, 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 and here, and then at the time I didn't know what the Mothership like even was. And sorry about those little bastards,
it's okay.
by the way.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get rid of them for like a week.
Oh, no worries.
But at the time I didn't know what like the Mothership was, right? And so so I go down there and then I see that, and then I met one of the door guys. Everybody was there, super nice. He was really funny. Whoever that guy was, he was so funny.
Yeah.
And even then, like I've heard like even some comedians on the show like literally told me that the first excuse me, that the first thing that they were able, like the first stage that they were able to get on was actually at the Mothership, which right now I'm like, that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
So but it goes to show like how what you're saying, more accessible it is,
Yeah.
But what was your like first impression, like having all the scenes, and coming from New York and LA? What was your first impression of Austin? Was it like a positive one, or were you like sitting there like what were you thinking?
If I'm going to be 1,000% honest, I hated it.
Yeah.
I first moved. I mean, before I moved here, I was visiting. I feature on the road a lot for Kurt Metzger. Kurt Metzger moved out to Austin. And so I was just like doing a visit and just like doing a run. And like, this is more so of like the actual city of Austin that I'm speaking on. So small. It's so small.
Yeah.
The fucking freeways, I can't, it angers me in a way where I go, someone's got to get shot in the head for this. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
I'm just so used to, like, it was such a culture shock. Again, I'm from Buffalo, so it's like I'm not from this like fancy place, but I'm from Buffalo. But I moved out to California in 2007. I was there for almost fucking, up until last year. So it was almost 20 years that I was in, and so the thing that I'm so used to is it's like so many dense neighborhoods and like dense neighborhoods with like different ethnicities. Like this is like little Ethiopia. This is like little Italy. This is Thai town. This is Koreatown, Chinatown. Like, and there's so many different like legit food spots with like people who don't even speak English. Like they're like legit from that country or whatever. And like you can immerse yourself in the culture. And like that's why I love New York and LA, because I've always been a person that like, I don't know, I just like love learning about other people's cultures. Probably because like my family's like Puerto Rican and Irish, and one of my brothers, like his dad is from Yemen. I was like always around like a lot of different, my babysitter, or she wasn't really my babysitter, she was just my neighbor, and my mom was never home, and so she was just like would be nice and like feed me dinner.
Yeah.
But she's
I'll watch your kid.
Yeah, she's like, okay, your mom's not home. That's weird. But they were a black family, and so I was just always around so many different like races and different types of people, and I didn't even realize, because again, I lived in New York and LA, where it's like that's just in your face everywhere. And then when I came here, it was like none of that's here. Like it's very white cowboy culture, whatever, and that's fun. God bless. Like if you're I'd say country is the music I'm the least educated on. And people are gonna be like, there's black people here, there's Mexican people. I know, but I'm saying like not in the numbers of where it is like in New York and LA. And it's so spread out. Again, there's not a lot of dense neighborhoods. There's so much construction on their one main freeway. So when I first moved here, and it was during when all the fucking, the crickets are everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I first got here, there's like crickets everywhere, and there's no mountains, there's no palm trees, there's no ocean. So to me, in my opinion, I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it, I was just like, it's ugly. Yeah. And again, I'm from an ugly ass place too, so it's like, baby girl knows ugly, okay? Yeah. And to me, Austin was ugly, especially coming from Southern California, where it's just the backdrop. You could be in the parking lot of fucking Target, and there's just gorgeous mountains, and again, palm trees everywhere, and the weather's like perfect all year round. So when I first came here, I was like, I don't know what these people will talk about Austin. Like, this place ain't it. And then now, mind you, I had done stand up in Texas before, like just featuring on the road for other people. I love Houston. Fucking love Houston, and I love Dallas. Houston's my favorite though, because Houston is so diverse and it's so dense, and there's so many different types of people and different types of food and different like the buildings. It's just the architecture, like the freeways make sense. Like so Austin just felt like it just felt like a girl with like, who just cakes on her makeup, and it's like she's got extensions in and lashes. Not saying that women can't be beautiful, but it's like, but then when you see them like in their natural state, you're like, this is very different.
Right.
So I felt like it was like a lie, where people are like, it's this, it's that, it's this and that. And I was like, I don't see it.
Right.
But then I moved here basically because I totaled my car in Los Angeles, and like at the same time too, I like lost like 2 major streams of income that were kind of like comedy adjacent. I was like working in film production, and then I was like a booking producer for a podcast, and then I was like helping Kurt and Kyle. They had like a sketch show, and I was like getting paid to do that. But it was just like all these things like dried up, and then I got in a car accident, and then I was like, I was like trying to get just like a normal job, but I was like, I don't really want to get another job again. But then Kurt was out here, and he's like, just come stay with me for a bit. And so my original plan was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to Austin. I'm gonna stay with them because they had a 3-bedroom house, like a spare room. And I was like, I'll get on my feet, just get some money, and then I'll go to New York. Because I was like, I don't have my car. So I was like, I might as well go to New York, so I don't need a car. And then, I got to audition at the Mothership, and then Adam offered me a job, and I was like, okay, I don't really have any, I have no like plan right now. And I was like, this is going to give me, some stability of like having this paycheck. And, that's kind of how I ended up staying.
Wow.
And again, like everything I'm saying about Austin, that's just my physical, like the appearance of the city. It's not like, there's wonderful things about Austin. I'm not,
Yeah.
and like I said, it was very easy to get stage time. It was like so easy where I was like, what? I was like, are you sure?
Yeah. Give it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Right.
Everybody was just like nice and cool. There wasn't a lot of like and the thing that is good, because there aren't so many like I said, defined big scenes. Like it's kind of just all like one scene, even though like they do have like, there are shows that like would be considered like, more of like the alt side or whatever, but everybody does everything. And so it's not like, okay, we're this and we're this and we're this and we're that. Everybody can kind of go everywhere.
Yeah.
It's also like not as cliquey, which is like super nice too. Like LA and New York, like cliquey as fuck.
Really?
Yeah. And but it's like that's fine, that's normal. When you're, when it's just so many more people and so many more scenes, it's gonna happen. So I feel like Austin, there's it's good and there's it's bad, and it just depends on like where you're at and like what you need. And so there's a lot of Austin that I do appreciate too.
Oh yeah. Basically, like, so you get the audition to go to the Mothership and everything, and then so the Mothership for me, like my first impression of it was just like, oh, it's just another comedy club, but I didn't realize what it actually was like here. It's like, it seems like it's like almost like a castle or something. Like it's like, that's up on the hill. Like you got to try to get there.
Yeah.
You got to work hard there. Did you find that was kind of similar with like comedy clubs elsewhere as well? Like,
I mean, I came from Los Angeles, and the store is the castle there, and the store and the cellar are like the two big. I look at them like institutions like similar to like Harvard, Yale, Stanford, where it's like before, the Ivy Leagues for comedy, it was just the cellar and the store. Obviously, there's an Improv of the Laugh Factory, but they don't have the same. They don't develop and build you in the same way that like the store and the cellar do. So the Mothership opening up was, and them doing the door guy system that they built off of, the Comedy Store. That was now you're opening another Ivy League school in an area where literally, physically and metaphorically in the middle of these two places.
Yeah.
And so it just, that's what I always say too, where it's like the people who talk so much shit about LA and New York, the people in LA and New York who talk so much shit about Austin, and I'm like, you don't understand that like at the end of the day, like this is good for all of comedians, all of comedy, because it gives again, there's so much saturation of, comedy in these two places that when you're opening this other place, it now is like another institution where you can you could build and you can develop and you can make money and you can, have a base here where it's like, it doesn't have to be just these two places. And again, these two places being very expensive. And, LA is the best weather out of everybody. But New York, it's like you're dealing with winter. Here you're dealing with like fucking brutal heat. Yeah. But it's like at least now we just have more choice and we have more, because anybody can come through. There's comics who come all the time from LA and New York. They stay here for a week. They get their stage time. They get paid a lot higher than they do at the other two clubs. And you can make a little bit of money. And again, you could certify your material because, not only is they're like the internal certifying material in the scenes, externally, now you go to East Coast, you go West Coast, you go the South, and it's like, you're like, okay, I can get 3 kind of different markets and really test my material. Yeah. So I think, the Mothership is for sure the castle out here. And again, there's some people in Austin who don't fuck with the Mothership. And there's people outside that don't fuck with it. And there's people, it's like, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's a club where you can make money, you could certify your material, and you could, if you wanted to, you could, have your life base be out here. And so it's like, at the end of the day, the more options and choices we give comics, it's like, that's only going to be better for comedians.
Yeah. It seems like sort of where I'm at, it seems like, this is like, that's the place that you strive to get on that stage. Mm-hmm. I when I first realized what it was, I would go and see I think at the time, like back in 23, I think it was Joe Rogan and Friends. Mm-hmm. It would just be the constant, like every week I would just wait for him to like put out that bulletin and I would just go see that because I would see a ton of these different comedians like get up there and I was like, man, I didn't even, like, for example, I didn't even know like Ron White was like still a thing at 23, and then I see him, I was like, he's still as great as ever. I was really super impressed with Asana Mod because he would just open up like he had this like killer like Jets joke that I really liked, and so I guess like what I'm getting at is like, so you could see the community that like you applied to and then you got accepted into and everything, and did you like, is this helping you as far as like your comedy goes? Like, do you get like all of these sort of like, all these great sort of like things to help you fine tune your own comedy? Yeah. Do you get that like a lot? Like, is that all y'all like kind of just really go off of, like bounce on?
Yeah. You mean like with the other comics, like, or do you mean like just watching them, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of getting a sense of like how how that has helped you.
Yeah.
So, sorry. Sometimes I just go off because I get like so curious and excited.
You're good. Yeah.
But yeah, like how is being there amongst all of these comedians? How has that like helped you? Like,
yeah. I mean, I think just being at any club, just like any club is going to be beneficial, where it's like, I mean, no matter what, if you're a comedian, you're going to be around other comics. So it's like, you don't have to be at a club to get like, the inspiration or to get the camaraderie or to, just learn a skill set, like just by watching instead of performing sometimes. Like just being around other comedians, you're going to get that. But at a club specifically, what's going to help you is there's times where it's like when you're just like a regular comedian, and again, like I started working at the Mothership when I was 11 years in. So I was like pretty much like all of the nitty gritty like work of a comic has already been done. So it's like I've already like developed, but doesn't mean like you're not going to develop other skills or whatever. But
sure.
The thing that like a club will like really help you with is, so you're going to see the same exact people over and over and over and over, versus in regular comedy world, you might, again, I'm not talking about Austin, but in New York and LA, it'll be 6 months before I see this. And like they're working, hustling all the time. I'm working and hustling all the time, but there's just so many scenes that it's like, and there's so many rooms that like, we're never on the same fucking lineup. Here, 1 at the Mothership and 2 in Austin, because it's so small, you're on the same lineup over and over and over with so many of the same people.
Yeah.
And so, 1, it helps you because like sometimes as a comic you just like beat yourself up like, oh, I don't have a new joke. Like you're thinking you got to come up with it like, every 2 weeks or whatever. But then you're like, no, everybody's kind of, because you're just seeing it over and over and over. Yeah. And so it makes you, at least for me, it makes me like hate myself less. And I think at a club too, like when the goal of a stand-up comic, or at least a near goal is like you want to be your own headliner and you want to be working the clubs. So like touring. So pretty much when you tour, you're doing clubs. You're not doing these alt rooms. You're not doing these obviously it depends on the kind of comic you are, but for the most part, you're performing at a club. You're performing at a club that, they have like their system in place. And so it's like you want to be as familiar like with a club scene, club setting, club audience as much as possible, because one day when you headline, that's all you're doing is you're going on the road doing clubs. So like being in that environment and just like learning like how the flow of a club works, learning, how the typical audience, like Fridays and Saturdays, like you're going to get more bachelor and bachelorette parties. Fridays and Saturdays, you're also going to get more birthday parties. Like on certain nights, you're going to get a lot of couples. Like on Wednesdays, it's for whatever reason, especially if you live in a city where they have like a lot of like, what are these things called?
Quinceañeras?
No, like the different freaking like the people who come in from out of town, like they have the fucking lanyards. It's
those festivals,
conventions and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Comic Cons and stuff like that.
Yeah, and exactly. So it's like you're learning how to perform in front of convention people, like because there's so many times on Wednesdays and Thursdays at the Mothership, it's literally a group of 40 of them, and I know because I'm working there and I see that they're all from the same place, and you're like, oh okay, so like. You might want to do crowd work with this crowd of like, what's your guys' job? Who's the boss? Who makes the most money? Who do you hate at work? Like whatever. But it's like, you're not going to learn all those ins and outs, like unless you're consistently like at a club, and you're going to be way more comfortable at a club that you consistently perform at because you feel like you belong there. So it also allows you to feel like, okay, I can expand, I can spread my wings a little bit more. Versus when you're just always doing these kind of like indie shows, whatever, you're not really building as much of a comfortability there because it's always like a new venue or whatever. Yeah. Versus at a club that you're there I'm there every other fucking day, every day. You just develop way more comfort. And so, I think it's just beneficial to, be at a club as much as possible.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome. I would, like I've always wanted to work in a place like that, like an environment like that, like surrounded by comedians, because I simply just want to learn. Yeah, because I'm very like, very aware that I'm very much in the learning stages. Yeah, and it was something that I didn't realize that I would be in. But I feel like this is something that you kind of have to like have an open mind about. Is there like a comedian, like I guess that you favor right now that you're just sort of like, I would really love to see them live. I really would love it. Like I feel like I can learn something from them.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that way about so many comics, but I just wanted to say something off you said. Sure. In the learning phase, to me, in my experience, the learning phase never ends. Absolutely. You're always like learning. It's just like in a different position. Like even if you are a world touring headliner, it's like, okay, but then it's like, have you done an arena, or they're gonna, have you like, do you know how to perform like at a fucking award ceremony or what? Like there's always gonna be like new things to like discover. And so like you're always gonna be looking up to your older comics as like people who can deliver information and that can, give you cheat codes of like, oh, XY square. Okay, that's how I do this. Okay, XXX 2Y. I don't know video game fucking paddles, but
totally get
it. But yeah. So I'd say a comic that I have not seen live, like, but I'm obsessed with them. Probably John Mulaney. Oh, yeah. I was gonna try to see him in Austin. I mean, I've seen Louis live. I watched him because Kurt also used to open for Louis, or still does like once in a while. And so, and I was opening for Kurt. So like I got to go for one of his the special that he did at the Kodak Theater. And I've also just seen him like at the Improv or like at the Cellar in New York. But John Mulaney is a person that I've not gotten to see live. I also I love Maria Bamford. I've gotten to see her live. Like
I love her.
Yeah, I love her so much.
Loved her.
Yeah.
Since those Comedy Central Presents days, she was just fantastic.
Yeah.
I've actually spoken about her a bunch on here.
Yeah, she's great. I also, obviously Norm Macdonald is dead, But that's a perfect example of a comic where it's like, okay, I'm not similar to this comic whatsoever, like in style or whatever, but I appreciate him so much for like what he does and like who he is and just what he means to stand-up comedy, like in general. But that's a person that it's like I'll study and I watch. But again, he's so different from me. But it's like I still just just appreciate him so much. But that's a person that I'm like, man, I mean, just even meeting Norm,
Man, I love talking to Norm.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I used to like I always send people to like Moth Joke or something like that. Just like I just love just the brilliance of just him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Just how he's just him. He's so intelligent and so
Yeah.
smart. I actually was gonna do a like a mini documentary.
Oh yeah.
And I started putting all the clips together and everything. And then when I started looking into the copyright shit, I was like, fuck, man. I'm like, this is not going to be as easy as just.
Have you read his book?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't.
Got to read his book. Yeah.
I'm gonna look into that. Norm's book. I'm gonna write that down. But I love. See, this is a big reason why I love this podcast. Is because like I love one hearing experiences, and two, I love that you openly like kind of share your knowledge.
Yeah.
And I love that you put out there that that it's a constant learning thing.
Yeah.
Because it's I feel like just you are a stand-up comic. I feel like in you're kind of like I guess like your spirit or whatever that you just know without a fraction of a doubt.
Yeah.
But have you ever found that you've doubted yourself? Have you ever been like, I don't know if this is what I want to do?
Oh, all the time.
All the time?
All the time. All the time. I mean, I think I think the people, and again, this is my personal opinion, but I think the people who tend to be like the actual funniest comics are the people who their soul has the most merit in our art form are the people who either want to fucking kill themselves or they're always like, should I quit? Is this, I think there's a comic is usually the person who can, always meet humility. I think that if you are always like, I got this all together and this is all right, you're probably not a good comic. Because at the end of the day, it's like comedy, a comic is the person who can like narrate life, a person who can narrate a scene, a person who can narrate like a moment. And if you don't have the perspective, you don't have your perception is not truly like in tune. If you're only seeing the good, then that means that like your perspective isn't good. Because it's like the more there is no such thing as like absolute good and absolute bad or absolute right, absolute wrong. So a comic is a person where it's like you're always able to scale back on either end, whether it's in anything, whether it's in politics, whether it's in, a car accident, whether it's in, how you feel your self-worth. It's always like you should be able to go all the way this way and all the way that way, because that's what good comics do. That's what a person, not even a comic, but just a person who has, self-awareness or a person who is highly perceptive is you have the ability to go this way, that way, this way, that way, this way. And so if a person is like, oh, I feel so solid and I feel so good, it's like, well, you're missing the whole rest of the picture. So I think that it's so normal and natural to want to fucking quit or to want to give up or to think that you're bad at it, or you should always think you're bad at it. Cause it's like, if you think you're good at it, then it's like, there's no good comedy that's going to come from that. Like, I'm great at comedy. It's like, all right, like, then it doesn't seem like there's much more to grow.
Oh man. Well, I think you kind of vindicated something to me, because now I'm like, oh, good. Okay. Cause like for a minute there, I was like, man, I really, really, really suck at this.
Yeah, that's normal.
Like,
yeah.
But there is times like I do want to quit because I'm like, I just don't know if I'm a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
But there's also like a thing in me that like I always like have like I gotta keep going. Like I gotta just keep going. And that's another thing I love about just comedians, is that you just keep getting up there all the time. So I guess my my next question would be like, where are you going from here? Like, do you have any kind of goals for your comedic journey?
Yeah. I mean, my big goal is I want to start doing my podcast again too. And I want to do that. I want to build my audience, because like my goal is like obviously I want to be headliner and I want to like have my own tour and be my own person, and not constantly opening up for other people, even though like obviously I've totally enjoyed that and loved that. But it's like you have your own voice, you have your own perspective, and it's like you want to find your tribe of people who are like who understand your perspective, who understand your voice, and who they appreciate your humor, they appreciate the what you're cooking up. And so like my goal is I mean I'm also not the kind of comic where it's like this could be to my detriment or whatever, but for whatever reason I've never been the comic where I'm like I feel so compelled to be like I constantly have to be putting out content, I have to do this, I have to do that. And I've definitely gone through phases, but then it's like after a month I go it's just not me. I don't feel I'm so comfortable and confident in like who I am and like what I do that I don't feel like I have to force myself, because there's tons of ideas that I could do for content where I'm like, okay, this could get me a following. Okay, this could get me a following. Obviously, I could just fucking be online in a fucking bikini, and be like, like whatever. But it's like that's just not what I want to do. Like I want to do it organically. And even just like I said, like little meme ideas or little like internet trends or something that it's like, yeah, you can quickly get, an audience that way. But it's like I'm trying to build like a very savvy comedy crowd, like people who genuinely like appreciate this art form and are knowledgeable in this art form. Those are the, it's kind of like Dave Attell, where it's like Dave Attell, it's like he doesn't have 5 million followers, but Dave Attell is like one of the fucking goats of all time,
He's amazing.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes. I've got to meet Dave Attell too. He doesn't know who I am. Yeah, but just seeing him, I'm like, oh my God, like you've fucking influenced me so much. But yeah, it's like, Dave Attell is not, again, I mean, I don't know his personal choices, but it doesn't seem like he's this person where he's like, he's trying to like jump on a trend or he's trying to keep up with the kids or it's like, no, he knows who he is. He knows he's a GOAT. All the comics, who so many people have come under him and they know that like he's a king and he's legit. And it's like, you could chase the followers or you could chase the money or you can chase, whatever it is that you need for like your validation. But I think for me, I just the older I've gotten, I've just for sure have so much understanding and confidence like with myself, and my self-worth is definitely didn't used to be good, but where it's at now to where it's like I'm not going to chase like bullshit. I want to build something that I'm passionate about, that's organic, and that's not me trying to be like, look at me, look at me, look at me. Like, I don't fucking need attention like that. Yeah. And like, I mean, it's weird being a stand-up comedian because it's like you feel like most of these motherfuckers need attention. Most of these motherfuckers like didn't do their homework, don't know the fucking art form. They just want to be famous, and that's why they're here. And you could tell. You could tell in their jokes. Yeah, 1000%. But for me, I just think that's just not how I get down, and God bless. Anybody could do it. Anybody could do whatever they want. But I just, I don't need validation. I don't need attention. Yeah. And, again, there's tons of times where I feel like I wish that I did, because I would be so much more like present online. I'd be so much more like, wanting to build that fan base like in any way possible, to where I could be like, okay, I have my 500,000 followers or I have my million, subscribers, whatever it is. But to me, I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want just like surface attention. Yeah.
Totally get it. Yeah. I'm the same way. To think about the people that have followed the podcast, for example, and stuff like that. I'm very grateful for it, because to me, it's like, it's quality over quantity kind of thing. I'm not really worried about like the millions and millions of viewers or nothing like that. I just want everybody who likes it to actually like it. And that's really a big reason why, and I know I told you this before, is like the reason why like I wanted to get you on is because I saw you, I really liked your stuff, I was a fan, and you spoke a second ago about that, just your quality, and a lot of times, like when I identify things in comedians, like I'll identify their structure, and that's like, that to me is like a huge like indicator that, man, I'm like, that's something that I still like, I want to learn from.
Yeah.
And I love that they're doing it.
Yeah.
You know, David Tell is like a fucking a master.
Powerhouse. Yeah.
He says shit that I'm like, he did his jokes.
Technician. Yeah.
I'm like, how did he do that?
Yeah. Totally.
You know,
all the time.
It's like watching a magician.
Yep.
You know, you're just like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And it's like, will I ever be there? It's like, maybe, but probably not. But that's the beauty of it though.
Right.
That's the beauty
And you'll do something in your own way where other people be like, well, how do you do that? It's like, it's not going to be a replica of what David Tell is doing, because that's what David Tell is so good at, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and it doesn't mean that like, you know, at least for me, like that one day it's like, yeah, that I would, of course, if I had millions of followers, like I would enjoy it, but I'm only going to get there if I'm building the things that I am organically like passionate about. And it's not me trying to strive for followers. It's me like putting out my work. And if it naturally happened, then I would be like, okay. But like, I'm not like fishing for people. I'm showing what I like or showing what I do. And if they come along, then like, that's great. But I do have to be better about being online. I just fucking hate it so much. But yeah, want to be a big headliner. I kind of want people, you know, whatever with Louis, but I kind of want Louis CK's career where it's like, you know, he's an amazing stand-up comedian, award-winning stand-up comedian, but then also had a series, Louis, one of my favorite shows of all time. I want to have like my own series that I write, direct. I probably won't act in it. I've more so I don't necessarily love. I don't really care about that. Maybe, but whatever. But I want to write, direct, edit it, and I want to produce for other people and direct for other artists too. Yeah.
I you know, that right there, that dream or whatever, that's something similar that I would love to get into. Like I've never, you know, I don't know how LA operates. I've never been there. I have done like extra work, and I've spoken about it before, like, you know, just being an extra in like movies and seeing that process, and you know, and this one on like a much more miniature scale. But like you know, but I'm kind of like you. It's so weird and awkward to me putting myself like in front of the camera. I know it's necessary because I want this to be a video podcast. Yeah. But it's there's like a big thing in me that I was like, oh man, I had this little like mascot that I made. I named him Boom, and he's like this little guy right here, right? And so I made that to be like, look at this, you know? Yeah. And then the research was sort of like, oh shit, unfortunately I have to get in front of the camera. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, when you mentioned like, you know, when you mentioned Louis C.K. and he's another one, you know, he'll say things and I'm like, how the fuck did he do that?
I know.
Where did he come up with that? Yeah. You know, it's really beautiful.
He's a philosopher. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's a philosopher. He's so intelligent, you know, and you know, you learn from him. You learn from people better than you. And since there's always going to be better than you, it's just like you said, it's like there's always going to be a practice. Yeah. And everything. But is there anything that you want to put out before like we wrap up?
No, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram or on YouTube. Start building that back up. It's just my name, Monarey, Monarey. You'll find me. But yeah, pretty much that's it.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this. I really enjoyed having you on.
Having me. Yeah.
I learned a lot, and you know, best of luck in your career. I hope that you go super far, like, because you're really, really funny.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate you. Yeah.
And that's it. That's a wrap.
Yes. Thank you.
That's it.